Hey guys, today we're going to do a rear differential gear oil change on a 2017 Kawasaki Teryx. This is first maintenance, a little over 20 hours on the machine. That's what they recommend. First changing the front and rear differential. We'll show you the rear first. They do recommend, but you are required to get a gear and wet brake oil, and the brake is actually bathed in the oil in the back here, so you got to make sure you get the right one. I went ahead and got the actual Kawasaki branded one. The local dealer had it, so I figured I'd put in what they call for. Book calls for right around a quart, so we're going to fill it up to the fill mark, and fill mark on these is just the bottom of the fill hole. So once that thing's full, then we know we have enough. So a lot of this is in the manual. If you look at the manual that came with your Teryx, it does have a lot of this information in it, along with the torque specs. I like that it has the torque specs in there as well. These are all aluminum casing, so it's pretty easy to strip a plug if you over tighten. So we'll go ahead and get started. So we'll get you a little bit better view here of this fill plug. Basically, it's just here on the top. Again, 19 millimeter. We'll go ahead and get that loose. This is your fill hole. Basically, you want to fill it up to the bottom of this hole. If you guys can see in there, but it's exactly at the level that it needs to be from the factory. Get a better look here. See that up underneath there? But that's the drain hole. We'll go ahead, break that loose, and we'll get started draining here. This bottom drain plug looks to be 14 millimeter. So we'll go ahead and break that loose. Basically just like draining the oil in your Teryx. Just got a drain plug. Go ahead and drain that out. Now these do have real small crush washers on them. You can see that. They're just little aluminum crush washers. I'm not going to replace this one at this time. Usually you can get a couple uses out of these. So we'll go ahead and reuse that one. Okay, now that's pretty much drained. Go ahead and put the drain plug back in. We'll get it started up here. Go ahead and hand tighten it all the way up. Now the book is nice. The manual that comes with it actually tells you the torque for a lot of these drain bolts. So for the rear gear case, they're saying for the drain should be 11 foot-pounds. I usually use my foot-pound to inch-pound converter because I like to use my torque wrench that's got inch-pounds for something this small. So I've set it to about 132 inch-pounds, which should be equivalent to about 11 foot-pounds. So we'll go ahead and tighten this up. It's not very much. That is it. Wipe it off. So again, we're going to go ahead and use this gear and wet brake oil lube here for the rear. Now you can squirt this directly in if you want, or I'm just going to use a funnel. It'll be a little easier to get it started in there anyhow. So hopefully you guys can see this. We'll go ahead and move this up here. I'm just going to squirt some of this in here. Oh yeah, the book does call for the amount. It says a little over a quart. It's like 1.04. I'm going to put a quart in. That's what these containers come as, and we'll see what the level's at that point. Hopefully this funnel will work. Some of that drain down in there. Almost. Just a little bit left. I'm just going to check, see where we're at. Looks like we're still coming down. Okay, let's see where we're at here. I'm getting really close to the line. So basically I'm going to try to squirt the rest of this in without the funnel here. See where we're at. The manual gives you a nice little diagram. You can see this right here. Basically you want to get it up to the right to the bottom of the filler hole. And that pretty much means it's full at that point. So it's not quite coming out yet, but we'll see if we can get the rest of this in here. Pull that back in case it decides to come out. Oh, there's a little bit coming out. I think we're right there. Let's try one more time. Yep, that's pretty much it. It's nice because if you have this open and you're on a flat surface, you're really not going to overfill it. It's going to going to push itself back out a little bit. So again, they called for 1.04, and I still got just a little bit left in the bottle, so I imagine some maybe we stayed in the gear case whenever we drained it. Not quite certain, but I'm going to go ahead and let that drip just a little bit longer here. Because we really don't want to overfill it. Okay, so the dripping's pretty much slowed down. So I believe that we're good here. Again, it should just be right to the top of that filler hole. Or the bottom, I'm sorry, to the bottom of the filler hole. We're going to go ahead and put this on. It does have an O-ring gasket on it, which that pretty much makes the seal. Go ahead and hand tighten that up. Again, the book does tell you on this particular fill cap should be 21 foot-pounds of torque. Again, I'll use my inch-pound wrench, which is about 252 inch-pounds. Go ahead and tighten this cap up here. A little bit tighter than that bottom one was. It's a hard angle to get to, so I'm gonna set this down here. There we go. Clean up any of the extra oil that happened to go down here in the bottom. And if it was dripping out, it wasn't too bad. And that's it. That completes the rear differential. Gear lube oil change. We'll go ahead and take a look at the front one next. Okay, we'll go ahead and start on the front differential. A little harder to get into the fill cap on this one. It's pretty far in there. I'll go ahead and see if we can get a shot back up in there. You kind of see the paint marks on it from the factory there. I don't know why they made this one such a much bigger cap, but we're going to use a 27 millimeter here, and that fits that cap pretty nicely. So we'll go ahead and loosen that up. Okay, so I don't know if you guys will be able to see this or not, but we're going to try to take this filler cap off here. If I can keep the camera from falling. It's in an awkward spot, really. And luckily this one didn't seem like it was on as tight. So we'll go ahead and loosen him up. Again, I don't know why it's such a big filler hole, unless it's just the angle. They really want you to be able to get a funnel in there or something more easily. So that's loose. We'll go ahead and here. So the drain bolt on this should be hopefully the same as the back, 14 millimeter. Again, it's a pretty easy access hole down here. I will give it to Kawasaki for making those so easily accessible. Break it loose and then thread it out by hand. Well, you can kind of feel the end of it and feel when that last thread's there, and kind of help keep that oil in there until you're ready for it. Definitely a different color than the back was. So while that's draining, we'll take a look here at the manual and see what it says here. It's telling me for the front gear case oil here. You guys can see that. It's saying use 80-90 viscosity hypoid gear oil GL5. So that's a pretty standard gear oil. Pretty much any brand will work. At the Kawasaki dealer, they actually didn't have the Kawasaki branded one, but they recommend the AMS oil, which I've heard a lot of good things about these guys. So we'll take a look here in the back. See, it does have the AG-5 rating, and it even says recommended for applications requiring 75-90 or 80-90 gear loop. So it's pretty much what this is calling for. Capacity wise on the front, looks like 0.97 quarts. So it should take pretty much all of this, just like the rear did. Go ahead and take a look here. Dripping just a little bit. We'll let that finish. While that was dripping, I did stick my head up under there. I was looking for that crush washer. Sure enough, it was up there stuck to the bottom of the case. So I just took it off so you guys could see it. But a lot of times they do get stuck up there. Just be careful too that they don't end up in the pan and you don't notice it, because these things really do help. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back on. We're going to reuse that one. And we'll go ahead and hand tighten it up. Like that. Drain plug calls for 11 foot-pounds, same as what the rear was. So again, I went ahead and set up my inch-pound torque wrench to about 132 inch-pounds, which is equivalent to 11 foot-pounds. Go ahead and tighten it up. Like that. Wipe her off a little bit here. And that is good. So next step here is trying to get this gear oil in the drain hole, or the fill hole, I should say. Let's see if we get a good view here. I think that'll work. I can get that down in there. Gotta get some downhill slope here.
Why?
Okay, just so you guys can see where the fill line is right now, go ahead and shine my flashlight down in there. Maybe you guys can see that a little bit clearer. But basically it's right at the bottom of that fill hole. That's exactly where you want it. So we'll go ahead and put the cap back on. Now this one's calling for 12.9 foot-pounds, so it's less than what the back was, but it's a bigger cap. I don't know where they come up with these numbers. Again, I'll use my inch-pound torque wrench. It's about 154 inch-pounds equivalent. So I'll go ahead and get it tightened up. This is going to be tricky again. I'm sure there's many different ways to get these loosened and tightened, but I use whichever way works. Get this guy in there. There we go. Again, that cap has a rubber O-ring on it, so basically you just got to get that O-ring tight against the case and it'll make the seal from there. Clean up a little bit of the oil on the cap, and that looks to be it. So not too bad of a job. Again, that was first maintenance service on a 2017 Teryx. About 20 and a half hours I have on the machine to date. About 120 miles, I think. So not too hard of a job. I don't think it's worth taking to a shop to do it. I think it's a pretty simple job that you can do with basic tools. So if you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments. Thanks.